We are live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So I'd like to thank, obviously, all our sponsors, but especially Vid Calls. So let's go into our video. Hello there. This is Ian Nethercott with the AutoHub Show. Good morning. Like everyone else, I look for a car from time to time. I'm not only talking about the car business, I actually buy cars myself. I'm currently in the market looking for a Ford. So I'm here on the Spikes Ford website, as you can see to my right, and we're going to check out what's changed. Here we go. So on this website, you can see I can talk to sales, I can talk to service, I can talk to parts, old school using a phone. I'm not really that into phone calls today. So let's see what other options are available. Oh, here's a chatbot. That seems to be another way that you can interface with a dealer using AI. I'm not a big fan of them. It's pretty automated. But what's this? Click for immediate live dealer assistance. That's new. Let's see what that's all about. Click below to meet with a Spikes Ford certified sales consultant. Seems pretty simple to me. So I'm choosing sales. That's what I'm doing. Meet with sales consultant. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Joel Benson here at Spikes Ford. How can I be of assistance to you?
Well, I just connected with Vid Calls here. I'm looking for a Ford, but I've never seen this before. Maybe you can tell me more about how this works.
Welcome, absolutely. Let me ask you a question first. Did the platform ask you for your name?
No.
Did it ask you for your cell phone number or your email address?
No.
No. We don't do that here at Spikes Ford. We want to do business with you and we want you to be 100% comfortable. Was the connection very quick?
Yeah, it's fast.
All right, then let's do some business. Welcome.
Thanks, Joel. Good morning and welcome. So, Mr. Polo, let's go into our deck and welcome to the Customer Experience Show. So, good morning.
Sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
No problem. So I picked a few books this morning, and there's many books on this topic. So I'm not sure which ones you want to read, but these are a few that I hadn't seen before. Never Lose a Customer Again, because obviously it's always better to retain an existing customer than to go out and find a new one. Exceptional Customer Experience, Designing a Customer-Focused Strategy to Increase Engagement and Sales, and The Power of Moments, because we all know that customer experience isn't just about us as a car dealer or the customer itself, but it's about creating memorable experiences. So those are the ones that I did. So go ahead with your show disclaimer, Jeff.
Yes, I love our disclaimer, as we call it, the Larry Feldman comment. The views and opinions shared on the show today are that of our guests and not necessarily that of the AutoHub Show or Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo. However, this show is a little less controversial because we got something super duper. And do remember, the AutoHub Show is here to make auto dealers' lives a bit better, one show at a time. And actually, yesterday I commented to somebody, we're going to open up our new matchmaking service too.
Thanks, Jeff. And in preparation for the show, I've been doing a poll on LinkedIn, and I've been curious because there's multiple ways to connect with a consumer on a website today, and most dealers spend more time, or most customers spend more time on dealer websites today than they ever have. So I thought I'd do a survey out there. It's not complete yet, but I wanted to show the results. So the four options were two-way video, phone, old school, chat bots, and then fill out a form and wait. So those are the metrics. If you have questions, let me know, but I thought the numbers were quite interesting. So let's get into it. So it is the Future of Customer Experience Show, and go ahead, Jeff.
Well, thank you, everybody. Wow, what a great show. We've got some really cool stuff happening here with Vid Calls, which in my opinion is the newest, the greatest technology to take us back to basics, as we talked about earlier. And you'll understand people have been doing this for a long time. I remember when I got into the business originally, we had rotary dial phones, and our receptionist would page sales call reception. When we got a sales call, I had a pen stuck in the rotary dial phone at 0. I dived, I picked up the thing, I flapped the phone off, and went, and I got the sales call. This is going to be the newest version of that. But we have some great guests today, and I want to thank everybody else who has joined us, because this is terrific. I see a lot of people looking with very, very concerned looks on their faces. However, we're going to introduce our guests, and as I introduce you, please tell us about yourself, your business, your connection to the topic, and please answer this first question, which is, how is the customer experience in dealerships today? The first person I'm going to ask is our very good friend is Wendy Reed from BDC Angels. Woo-hoo. And Wendy, please introduce yourself, that smiling face, and fresh from your cruise. And answer that question, how is the experience in dealerships today?
Okay, good. First of all, my trademark, good morning, beautiful people. So forgive my voice. We kind of brought a couple of colds back from us from the Caribbean, but this is really an exciting topic for me. I'm a car brat. My dad was a car guy, so I've been in the industry. I was born into the industry, and I'm just as passionate about it now as I was when I was a 16-year-old receptionist where Dad was a GM in a Buick store back in the 70s. So, okay, somebody quickly, yeah, I'm a dinosaur, yeah. So anyway, but a passionate dinosaur nonetheless. And the customer service experience to me has changed because we've done so much pivoting, from my perspective anyway. We've done so much pivoting since COVID that I don't think anybody really knows the right or if there is one right thing to do. But first and foremost, I think we've become, for the most part, very reactive and not proactive in our dealings with our customers. And I think we need to make it more relationship-based and not transactional, regardless of fixed ops or variable. I think it needs to be about, we've been saying it before, we've been saying it for years. My first dealer, Amato Automotive in Milwaukee, we don't want to sell you your first car or your second car. We want a relationship for life. And we want to sell you children cars and their children's and et cetera, et cetera. And his third generation running the store, and Mr. Amato Sr., if anybody knew him, who just passed. This goes on for me since the 80s, and it's always been making it about people and relationships, but too many people got away from that. So we need to go back to that. We need to be proactive. We need to cultivate relationships. We need to invest more in training. We need help.
All right, well, thank you. You got a great point, and actually this feeds right into this whole topic of vid calls. We got to get back to that relationship thing, and I actually had to comment on the video there with Spike Ford, and just for the disclaimer, that was filmed during the pandemic when there was no Fords and the Ford dealers had Mercedes in their showrooms. Next, we have with us our good friend Feldman, who is the career changer, the very modest best sale trainer in the entire galaxy. And Larry, introduce yourself, please, even though you're certainly not a stranger to everybody here, and answer the first question, please.
Sure. Well, I think my good and great friend Wendy summed it up beautifully. I interview people all the time, and they tell me how they're trying to get jobs, how much they love cars, and I always retort, well, how do you feel about people? Because we're not selling cars to cars, we're selling cars to people. It all comes down to how you make the people feel, how much concern you have, right? It's Dale Carnegie 101. I got to show I'm interested in you before you're going to show that you're interested in me back. So certainly thrilled to be on this panel. I see so many smart, good people, a lot of them who've become friends, and anything that gets us to be more personable or more in touch is terrific. And I'm particularly excited to have Joel Benson on the call, because even though he's a little crazy, and I could speak of crazy, it's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar talking about tall people. I understand it uniquely. The guy has made it simple. You hit a button, boom, and not only can you monitor what your people are doing, but people reach it. Because I said 100 times, probably 101 now. I hate when I get prompts and I get put to 19 people and then I get hung up on. Unless it's Tim Hayden, who just hangs up over me from the beginning. I'm not sure if I think it's a personality.
Thank you, Larry. Next, we have with us, we've got people here now from BDC, from training. We're going to, in a moment, introduce you some from advertising, and then the king of them all, Joel. But we have with us Bill William Camastro from Gold Coast Caddy, like the caddy dealer of the world, I have to tell you. Bill, if you could say, introduce yourself and tell us how you feel the customer experience in dealerships in general today, even though we know at Gold Coast Cadillac, it's like fabulous.
First, thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me, number one?
You bet.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I can't speak for the rest of the world. I can only tell you, the feedback that I get, and I try to just to continue my learning and evolution with our store here is to attend as many, seminars as I can, conferences as I can, calls like this as I can. The consumers tell us, we don't have the dealerships to tell us, the consumers tell us that, there's a wide bandwidth of experience, of customer engagement wherever they go. My personal opinion, I think that, in a world of digital sciences, that we think it's going to do the work for us. I think we need it, and I think it's important. I think it's the digital world is, and vid calls and things like that that's the bridge with what used to be a receiver with a curly cord hanging off of it from years ago, right? That was the connection to the customer or the newspaper under the arm. We don't have that anymore. We have the internet, and we have other technology that allows us to communicate with the customer remotely or in person, depending on what the customer wants to do, or digitally, like text messaging and whatever. So I think that, we still have a little bit of a lag in dealers or dealer groups that maybe the dealer principals or the management team grew up 20 years ago or 30 years ago in the business when, the digital world wasn't as involved. And I think that their evolution from salesperson or service to management to dealer principal may have been right before the wave began. So their learning curve might be a little bit behind. That's just my opinion. And that doesn't speak about anybody in particular. But I think as time goes on, the healthier dealer groups are going to understand that you have to be able to communicate in a format or in a lane that a customer wants to communicate in. You can't decide how they're going to communicate with you. We have to communicate when they want to communicate, as often as they want to communicate, and by which mechanism they want to communicate. And certainly the vid calls, and I've had some experience with Joel on this, vid calls allows us to personalize, even with a face and our voice, the digital technology. So I think it brings the best of both worlds together. So I'm happy to be part of this call today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we love having you on because, frankly, you've got a wealth of knowledge and, you're a smart guy. And, it's nice to share that stuff with it. And obviously to have a dealer's viewpoint on this. Next we have with us Steve Gary joining us from Zimmerman Advertising, who, by the way, I told him I wouldn't say this, but I will. The single reason that AutoNation went from a used car operation to the people they are that took over the world. Steve, please say hello, introduce yourself, and answer the question about the customer experience.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me to this show. My name is Steve. I am with Zimmerman Advertising. Been with them for, I think, since cars were able to crank in the front of the car to get them started. I started here 36 years ago. We happen to be the largest automotive advertising agency in the country, and I think best. Like you said, we do automotive advertising for AutoNation and have done it for 20 years since we were actually a used car operation when they started Republic Industries. We also have done, Zimmerman's done tier 2 advertising for Nissan for 20 years as well. So we do have a little bit of experience. We do anywhere from single point dealerships to groups the size of AutoNation. As far as customers and what we think of them and how we deal with them, it is one-to-one advertising finally. And we get to do that with Vid Calls and other programs as well. But we always want to talk to the customers. We're chameleons in the car business, in all kinds of sales. You have to be a chameleon and you have to change. Again, customers for life. I don't know if that's going to be so true. These kids today, the Gen Zs and Xs, they're not as brand loyal as we all were back in the day. If your dad bought a Chevy or a Cadillac, you bought a Chevy or a Cadillac. If your dad bought a Ford pickup truck, you bought a Ford pickup truck. It's just the way it's always been, and it's not like that anymore. So many choices, so many brands out there that people do have other places to go. So you do need to build that relationship, and I think Vid Calls is a great lane, as you said, Bill, to be able to communicate with the customers the way they want to be communicated to. So whether they want to chat, that's fine, or whether they want to be seen or see. It's a great way to do a walk around with a used vehicle. that you know is one of one vehicles, to be able to take that customer out onto the blacktop, walk around that vehicle, be able to show them the interior, listen to the sound system, look at the tires, be able to really look under the hood from your couch. So it is a whole different way of being able to engage that customer. So I think it's a step in the right direction, checks another box literally on your home page. So there's another way to communicate with your salespeople, with your service department. I think it's has been a great addition to what we recommend for our dealers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you actually echoed something Bill said, which is people want to reach out the way they want to reach out. I don't think a lot of people really want to sit and chat with somebody, and Ian will mention this a little bit later, some fake name of some, and et cetera, but we can talk about that. But thank you for that viewpoint. I wanted to acknowledge Joe Boras just made a comment about trying to get a kid to switch from an Apple to an Android phone. But you have to think about it in a different way, Joe. Is in the car business. If you were to have a Ford and go to a Chevy, you would need about a 12-week experience to figure out how to open and close the windows. So, just kidding there. Last but not least, we have the man, the legend, Joel Benson, who is Vid Calls. And Joel, please introduce yourself, which is what it's all about.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Okay.
Hey, Joel, go ahead.
Hey, thank you.
Of the business and how you think customer experience is.
By the way, I really enjoyed the bit that you did with the Jetsons as the future. I remember the old Dick Tracy watches, and what are they talking about? You can never look at a telephone and a watch. Times are changing.
Joel, I didn't hear that Stellantis is going to be buying Spacey Sprockets.
Good to know. So it's as we all know, Vid Calls is a brand new video platform that connects internet car shoppers to your dealership literally in seconds. I believe that within 12 months, engaging car buyers on phone calls and chat will become obsolete. Dealers not advancing into video technologies will be left out in digital dust. Online car shoppers that click the button to Vid Calls, like you saw Ian do in the opening, are 100% ready to engage. They actually are inviting your salespeople into their homes on their computers, spending their time to discuss purchasing a new car from your dealership. How's that for a hot lead? So we're honored today. We're honored today to have a very, very talented panel that's sharing their thoughts and their ideas and creativity about video sales. So Ian and Jeff, thanks for having us today, and can't wait to hear the discussion.
Rock and roll.
Thank you so much, Ian. Take it
Yeah.
away.
Also wanted to say a thank you for Gail. Sorry she couldn't be on the show. She had a surfing accent. So if you know Gail, reach out to her. She apologizes for not being here live from Retail Resilient. So lots of great comments. Actually, it's been a little bit crazy. I've got comments from Stephen on LinkedIn, and I've also got comments from Stephen Granger and others. Stephen was talking about he recently bought a car 3 weeks ago, and it was the worst experience ever. He says basically that it was worse than before the pandemic, in his opinion. And then Stephen Apicella has commented that silos are still a big problem. Building the, trying to bridge that gap between sales, service, parts, and other from a customer experience still needs to be handled. And you need to basically take action. So if you want to fix these problems, you need to embrace new technologies. So some great comments from Stephen. There's a lot of polls I've been posting recently. There's obviously a lot of responses I've got through LinkedIn and elsewhere. In my opinion, there's a large number of industry people that are fully aware that Gwen or Joe isn't actually the person that you're speaking to. And even with AI technology, it's really not really an experience. And dealers, from what I've heard, and I've talked to many, are not really happy with the results or engagement. What why has this point of contact taken over at dealerships, in your opinion? Let's start with the dealer. Let's go with Mr. Camastro. What do you think on the chatbot? You're muted, just so you know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, on the chatbot. Well, it's funny. I talked about this morning with my team here, simply because I was trying to get an idea of how much activity we actually have on the chatbot. And I think part of the problem is consumers now, they're becoming a lot more aware of our technology, which is an issue. And what I mean by that is they understand every website they go, a lot of websites they go to have a chatbot. And that being said,
You are muted.
Whoa.
Sorry about that. It creates a bit of an issue because consumers know they're not engaged with a human being.
Yeah.
And the chatbot can only go so far. And I think what happens in a lot of cases is chat becomes like a holding pattern. You know, it's like they know they're not really going to get all the answers that they want. They're going to get generalizations. They're going to get phone numbers. They're going to get addresses. They're going to get redirections. And it really becomes a more of a waste of time in the end than it does an info source. And people become aware of that. And when they become aware of it, just by having the chatbot, if you're not available, you may lose them completely. And I think, having a live video option, and I'm not trying to pump Joel too much here, but I'm going to anyway. If they dial in or they make an inquiry, and then we have a system that allows the consumer to prompt a live person that can answer their questions, on the spot, and put a face to the voice and put a face to the answers. They'll know they're actively engaged with someone that is a professional, can actually answer their questions, versus a chatbot that's actually going to take around the block a few times before they can speak to someone.
Fair enough. Appreciate that.
I think it's even more than that, because I think it's the beginning of a relationship that you're now starting to build. When you have that chat, you're right. You don't know if it's a real person, not a real person, but when you have that face-to-face, you're starting to build a relationship with that consumer, and that could be your next customer. That could be your next up in the dealership, or be able to walk them through, the online retailing tool that dealer might have, and get them to the point where they're doing some of this work prior to coming into your dealership. And like we have some of our dealers going into a in and out in about an hour message. And that's what people want. They want to get in, get out, have the car that they want ready when they get there to test drive, and in less than an hour, get the hell out of that dealership and go home with a great experience, because you built that relationship early in the game and understood how to get down that road to the sale.
Steve, let me make one more comment on that, if I could. First of all, music to my ears, but one of the things that we have a playbook on it, and we have word tracks and everything scripted here. We don't just script the words to say. We also script the understanding of the consumer and the human behavior. And our sole goal is to elevate consumers to live communication if we can, whether it's off a chat, whether it's off an inquiry. Always try to elevate them to live communication, because that's where, if we're professionals and we're well trained and we can put that human touch on it, that's where we're going to excel. We got to get to that first, because the internet and digital sciences have sent us back 5 steps before we can re-elevate back to live communication. So what you're saying is true, and I agree to the point that we're trying to get to live communication. If vid calls allows us to have a customer, and whatever percentage it is, okay, so if it's 10%, 5%, 20%, 60%, whatever it is, it adds an opt-in to live communication that an inquiry or a chatbot would never recognize. And all it will do is enhance our overall performance, in my opinion.
Hey, Bill, how about the fact that they can actually see somebody smiling at them? Somebody that looks like they're happy to be on the phone with them.
I would agree 1,000%. I think we've over quantified or qualified, how much a bot or an app can sell cars for us. I think we've overqualified that in our world.
100%. Wendy or Joel, who wants to chime in? I know Wendy's big on the phone side. What do you think on the video piece of that? How do you think agents will deal with that, whether it be sales, service, or BDC? You're muted.
So I think it's fabulous. I'm all over it because, and all of my agents are work from home. Everything we do BDCs and VBCs, and everybody works from home. And the idea that we all do our best work from our own environment in our own space, I think will only enhance with my team. That is my team and the teams that I launched that are direct dealer hires. I think the dealers are going to love it. All my independents that I launched remote teams for and show them how to manage work from home people, because I think that more of the personality of the agent is going to show through on the video. Because especially again post-COVID, I hate to keep bringing up that ugly word, but our world is changing, and we crave collaboration and brainstorming together. Myself, I'm all about mindset and perspectives training. I think when we, like Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And we don't have, with a phone call or texting, we don't have body language. On video, you kind of do. I mean, like, you know, if you're talking to me and you're telling me your needs, and I'm like sitting here with my finger in my ear, or biting on my nails, or clipping my nails, or some disgusting personal hygiene practice that just absolutely repulses me. You can't do that, and you get to really go through the phone, and you get to give them another level where you can establish rapport, right? Because regardless if we're selling appointments or cars or parts or service work, people buy from people they like, know, and trust, right? And we sell appointments on my end anyway, or we buy cars. So being able to shine that through on a video screen, I love it.
Hey, Wendy,
Wendy, I'd like, oh, I'm sorry, Larry. I just wanted to add one thing. We do have the ability, I took my green screen off for this meeting, but if you looked at Ian's green screen, or if you look at Jeff's green screen, they can, your BDC agents can have a really beautiful green screen behind them on the car dealership they're representing, or just in generic cars in general. So to give it a very professional view.
Wendy, I was saying, you got me flashbacking a zillion years ago. So I remember seeing and reading that you should put a mirror in front of your, wherever you're sitting on a phone, to make sure you're smiling when you're talking to somebody. But yeah, there you go.
This was my niece's in 2007 when she was a college student, complete with Bendy Bunny. Yeah, yep. My friends got it.
Keep the thumb more caddies. You need some more bendy bunnies. You got it from Wendy Reed. You can't be bad.
Joel, what do you think on the chatbot side? I mean, I know people don't believe the chatbot is a person, even with AI, but what do you think?
You're asking me?
Absolutely, I'm asking you.
When I think about chatbots,
Yeah.
I've been on 3 of them, and not one I enjoyed, and that even gave us more incentive to, we were going to speak to some chatbot companies and kind of merge vid calling with chat, but we just want to differentiate ourselves strictly with chat. It's the smile, that's what it's all about, and the knowledge and the confidence that a customer feels when they're meeting with a sales representative of the dealership that they initiated the call to come and see. What's different from advertising and from cold calling, which I hate, is that vid calling is initiated by the customer, not by the dealer. So when they're calling you, they want to buy a car, and that's the opportunity. So chatbots are, I guess we're finding the day, but as I mentioned before, I think they'll pretty much go obsolete.
Thanks for that. We got another comment from Steven. And take a look at the #1 retailer, Amazon. They're a $1 trillion valued company because they've sold the desired customer experience before and after the sales process. Without the recurring customer, Amazon wouldn't be the giant we know. Interesting to note, Amazon is chock full of brick and mortar and people to deliver the products and services. And that's not far departed from auto retail. That's what his opinion is. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, it's very funny, all the things that we're mentioning here, and it's like Michael J. Fox. We're going back to the future, and the future is a go away from that. Nobody really wants to get hello, welcome to XYZ Motors. My name is. and I have a pretty picture, but let me help you. They want to get to people. In the old days, when somebody did a phone a dealership, before their phone number displayed John Smith, Jane Smith, whatever, they phoned because they had anonymity. They gave their number when a skilled salespeople got it, person got it from them. In this particular case, as was just mentioned, Joe said the customer initiates the contact. You know, not somebody's phoning them and hounding them because I got your email and everything else, which frankly, personally, I hate. Unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. I work for a dealer that had 3,500 people on their do not call list. Think about that for a moment. Nevertheless, the last 3 years, we've just come through something very interesting. And all of us, and anybody who says it's wrong, is that that's not true, is lying. All of us 2 years ago thought, oh my God, 2.5. The days of a brick and mortar dealership are done. It's all digital. It's going to be vending machines and online deliveries, and nobody sees it. And things have changed. We thought it was all going to be digital, and now it's morphing into something else. People are starting to send emails to say, what's your best price? People are walking into dealerships, whether we agree or not, they are. So what is the likeliness of live human voice or face-to-face reproving itself? So with that, I am going to go to Wendy, because your guys actually don't do face-to-face.
Okay, so what do you want to know? I listened to the entire thing, but remember, I got a little bit of a medicine head going on, so forgive me.
Well,
I'm just
don't
wondering
talk
which
much
angle.
either, so, you know.
So, I mean,
what's the likeliness of live human face-to-face or voice reproving itself from the old days?
So the interesting thing was, like you said, back in the future, back in the days where we had to race to get the up calls and and we had to get the number however we could. So what is the question? Whether I think that the video face-to-face is going to be better? Is that basically?
Is it going to become more dominant, like it used to be the only way, but is it going to take over from the digital side of things?
Here's what I think. I think we always need the human interaction. We crave it. I think that sheer curiosity is going to have a quick rise in popularity because people are going to check it out. However, here's the other side of that coin. You better make darn sure that whoever's accepting those video calls because they're still going to get to what's your best price, and they're going to look for your body language, and they're going to look for your poker face, and they're going to look at to see whether or not you know what the heck you're talking to, or whether, yet again, they're going to have to be transferred to another 1 or 2 or 3 people before they actually get the question answered. So you're going to need a lot of training and coaching, especially on mine. When I tried, it's going to be me and my leadership people that have been in BDC for, at least 15. It's not something we're going to farm out to the agents till we're all over it and we know exactly what we're doing, because we're going to put a bad name then to something and start adding up bad experiences across the board that are going to shy people away from something that could be a great tool.
And I could not agree with you more, Wendy, and I could not agree with you more about the training. The way that the Vid Calls works is whether a customer, a car buyer on the internet clicks on your link on your website, or they can even click on a digital ad, or they can click on an email with a link inside the email. That's how the customer reaches the dealership, either by a link on a website, in any type of digital ad, or a mail. Now, once the customer clicks, within seconds, and I mean within less than a second and a half, we ping the dealership that the customer just clicked to go to. And when we ping the dealership, it's up to the general manager or the owner of the dealership to assign their sales representatives that want to take that call, whether it's a BDC, whether it's a salesman that are inside the dealership, or even salesmen working remotely from their home. It doesn't matter. So when the GM tells us, I've got 22 people that sell in my dealership, but I only trust 9 of them to be on a video call. They're the best salespeople that I have. Great. So when that customer clicks the button, we ping only those 9 people in that dealership. And then the first one of those sales representatives that's available to take the call, because we don't know whether they're out having lunch or whether they're dealing with another customer, we ping all 9. And the first one that clicks and says, I want that call, they're on video with that customer within 10, 15 seconds. That's how fast it happens.
Same as 20 years ago when we had Active Engage and they'd have all the IP addresses and you can pass them from computer to computer with a little chat. Hey,
Sure.
take this over. Same idea. But I'm
Very
just suggesting that whoever those people are, it depends upon what the goal is. If it's something and you're looking to set appointments to get people in, then you might not want to tried and true. You only want somebody who wants to get everything done over the phone. Then you put your senior salespeople in. But otherwise, the longer people have been around and the hungrier they're going to get for these leads that they can convert to sales, they're not going to, same as grabbing the low-hanging fruit in the store. It's going to be the same thing with the video. They're going to try to pre-qualify the people before they bring them in, and they're not going to sell the appointment. So there's a lot of different aspects of it that I can hear that you probably need to get in place before you just randomly, okay, you 9 people are good here. Pick whoever can do it, take this call. So I think it's going to have to be trial and error, and there's going to have to be growing pains and everything else. But I still maintain that it could potentially be a fabulous tool. So forgive me for
I have to tell you something. It's always boggled my mind that a person with a $25 million investment on the hook for another $50 million in debt turns over all that to the control of a person who goes, hi, and doesn't know what they're doing, which is a perfect thing for training. And I'm gonna hit Larry up with this next. And it's the likeliness of live human voice face-to-face recruiting itself is all about training. If you give that to a drone, are you on the phone, Larry?
I am. I'm not talking to you. My audio is getting weird.
I won't call on you. I'll call on you again in a minute because I just didn't realize you're on.
No. I'm good. I'm okay.
We know you're good.
But I picked up the phone because the audio was getting weird because you got me if you need me.
Okay, no problem. So tell me something. We know you live on face-to-face. I live on face-to-face. I hate this digital thing because I can't put my thing through, everything you say when it comes out in words is mostly just words. So how much at risk are we if we do things, anything, and then people aren't knowing what they're doing?
Well, think about it. Anything you do that doesn't involve some level of expertise combined with some level of caring, you're dead, right? If people are apathetic, even if they're good at something, you're lost. And if you're doing something with somebody that has no idea, it's there. The scariest thing to me about when I train people isn't that they make mistakes or they're wrong, because it would take a 17-hour program for me to tell you the mistakes I made just this month, much less in my lifetime. What scares me is how people make mistakes and don't say, shit, I made a mistake, let me fix it. They just continue to be as dumb as they can possibly be. You guys know, because you've seen me in action, when I do a 2-day training, I send people out to mystery shop to say they're looking for a car for their sister that just had a baby. If they're me and Jeff's age, it would be my daughter that just had a baby, which makes us grandpa. But instead of anybody in the country saying, congratulations, boy or a girl, is it her first? They just, well, where is she? Why isn't she here? Tell her to come back. But what I always tell my class is, it's not just bad enough that they did that, but they don't go to their desk and say, I wonder if I could have handled that better. Let me review that. Let me think, maybe I could have built a bridge. So it's really simple. Anytime we don't learn from our mistakes, we're dead. I just trained a military guy, and I always try to dial in. I have unbelievable respect for the military. And I talked about George Washington. If you studied him, initially, he wasn't the world's greatest tactical leader. He made every mistake you can make, but he learned from every mistake, and he corrected every mistake. And obviously, he's the primary reason we have a damn country. So I think it's understanding that we need to get better. By the way, I'm with Wendy and Joel 100% on this. If we can tie in people with people rather than machines or voiceless apparitions, we're going to be unbelievably better off, because I think people are starved right now for human contact. Is there anybody on this call, anybody that hasn't had a problem with the computer or something, and all you want to do is have one person say, turn it on, turn it off, kick it, throw it out the window, and instead all you get is a chatbot. And again, you can't tell if they're smiling, you can't tell if they care. So as far as human contact, and I can't overemphasize it. Again, I tell every salesman, we talked about it earlier, one of the most important things you can do in retail is smile. Just look like you're interested and look like you're delighted. And on top of that, what word I haven't heard today, how about empathize? Empathize is even more important than expertise, because if you're an expert and they think you're a jerk, you're done. But if you can make people understand, I feel your pain, hey, I'm rolling with you, I think we're miles ahead of the game.
And here's why Larry is a great trainer, okay? Picture what he just said if his face wasn't on the screen right now and you were just talking to him on the telephone.
Hey, Joel, excuse me, they're having audio problems. Could you repeat the part about Larry Feldman being a great trainer?
Well, you know,
rewind. No, obviously, it's that smile, it's the expression, it's video. That's why telephones don't work as well as they do in a car dealership, and they never will. Because you can't get a Larry Feldman or anybody with that expression and with the empathy like you mentioned before. So, yeah.
well, you know, until the day we create bots that are like Rosie and the Jetsons, there's no way they're going to have any empathy, and there's no way that they can deal with that. Last person on this question is Steve, because he comes from the industry that has created all this problem, which is the advertising industry. And so, Steve, what do you think about this? I mean, we know that we have a certain bias here of toward vid calls and toward this. But what do you think is going to happen here? Because digital, again, as we talked about, we go to these dealer conventions, and NADA had 675 vendors, of which 673 of them were digital. So what's the likeliness of going to live human contact?
I think if the consumer wants it, it'll grow. If it's not a channel they want, it will not grow. You know, I think it's leave it up to the consumer, give them the choice. Like Bill said, it is the best way, is the way they want to do business. So if a consumer wants to be face to face, give them that option, and we'll see how well it works. I think it's still to be seen. I think it's a great avenue, and I believe that's a better way to build a relationship, by looking somebody in the eye, by understanding what if they're even thinking about you during the call. But this way, at least you're face to face, and I think it's the first step to building a relationship with what could be your salesperson.
Okay, thank you. And you know, it's funny, it takes the next step, because one thing I always taught my salespeople, and I hate to say it, pat myself in the back, in the late 2000s, 2009, 2010, was to actually send a short video to people, although it took about 9 minutes to go through. But literally, you walk around the car. We do that today. Here's your car. And you could actually do that on vid calls at the same time. I think that would be, it's a great way to connect. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the sponsor of the show is Vid Calls, and we're here to promote them. But what's the big deal about Vid Calls? I mean, when you look at the technology out there, and we did that survey at the beginning of the show, showed you the results there. When I look at websites in every industry, I feel that there just isn't a lot of choice for a consumer, other than, automated choices in a lot of cases. But what do you feel the big deal about Vid Calls is, in your opinion? So let's start with Mr. Camacho. I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah, and just say that one more time, so make sure I get all that in my head when I answer you.
Yeah, you've been exposed to vid calls. What do you think is the big deal? I mean, you told us one-on-one that you're the mad scientist of automotive. I mean, what do you think the big deal is from a consumer experience versus the other options that are available on your website now?
Well, look, it's the perfect real-time option to talk to a human being when you're not sitting in a dealership. I mean, and look, the best levels of, if there is such a word, of controlling the flow of the process is live contact, in my opinion. I think the young lady mentioned it earlier, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, but I think until machines can give birth, and while people have vanity and can speak a language, human interaction is going to be desired. It's just innate. It's just going to be there until we change our forms as human beings. So, but going back to, I think also what Jeff was saying, he gave some tongue-in-cheek examples of what the communication sounds like. Okay, I think that's the biggest issue. Why has it been such a race to come up with all these different magical pixie dusts? Is because generally speaking, human beings don't do a great job in our industry. That's really what it comes down to. If we train our people to be engaging at a level that customers are willing to engage at, and we study their behavior and the responses more than we study what we want, right? Because I think that's what the big problem is. We spend more time. I want to sell a car, I want to make lots of money, and I got a pork chop on the line. Okay, for that comment was for those old car guys that are out there, by the way. And I'm going to send them to Mars on a one-way trip. That's, you can't be thinking that way when you're talking to a customer, because, nowadays, the real positive in live communication with a customer is it is the biggest. Years ago, if they entered negotiation with you, like if you said, if I sold you the car for $1, would you buy it? And they would say, yes, of course I would. Well, then, of course, there's a price you buy the car at. That's the old school way, right? Nowadays, the biggest buying signal you get from a customer is that they do allow live communication. If they allow live communication, they're very close to buying a car, because that just by allowing you to communicate live, where years ago they had no choice, right? They had to go to you. Now they can opt to have live communication versus not have live communication. If they opt to have live communication and you're engaging, your chances of selling the car are very high. And what Vid Calls says to me is, look, here's a way of having your dealership 24/7, or those who are either willing or directed to be available 24/7. Call comes in, the customer opts into live communication. Those customers are raising their hands saying, I'm a question or two away of buying a car. And I guess this is it in a nutshell for a minute. And I'd like you all to think about this for a minute. Salespeople sit in the showroom, right? They stare out the window like years ago in some dealerships. And they would rather wait for a customer to walk in the door that they know nothing about, have no idea what their credit score is, have no idea what the trade looks like, have no idea what their personality is, no idea what they come from, what their income status. They know nothing about these people, yet they'd rather stare out the window and wait for that person, who today is 10% of their business, versus engaging in the online opportunities to create engagement with the customer, like Steve and I were talking about, where they want to communicate, for the purpose of bringing them to live communication, to engage them to sell a car. Because with those people, what do you know when they send in a form submission, or they call on the phone? Like my CRM captures a lot of customer data the minute the customer calls in. And it also allows me to have live communication, where a customer coming through the door, they say the same things I always used to say. They give you 5 different reasons why they're not buying anything today. And after they gather their information, they blow you off and they go someplace else and they buy a car. The average customer comes into 1.2 dealerships before they buy a car. Are we going to be the 1.0 or the 0.2? I think the 1.0 revolves more around how do we elevate customers to live communication by using the digital tools that are available to us. Vid Calls allows us, at least for a portion of that population, for the people who will opt in, to page past all of the other digital tools or when they're ready, in either case, to get to that live communication where they might not necessarily walk through the door before they've had it. So I think it's an excellent technology, and I think, I don't know, for me, it makes all the sense in the world.
Hey, Bill, how about the fact of how simple Joel's system is, and that it allows us to add one more component? How about a big thing that flashes up and says, would you like to talk to a live person? I think that's going to trigger a lot of responses.
Yeah.
Listen, I guarantee you this. If you attach, and Joel, you may want to think about this, how to embed Vid Calls in the Chatbots. So that customer can say, would you like to elevate to live to communication with a live person? Click here, click, boom, you got a person on the screen.
We could, but I just killed Chatbots so bad about 20 minutes ago. I don't know if the whole
No, I mean, it's
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it will work. It will work, and it can be done extremely easy. All we do is put a link in the chatbot, and they click on it, and they're meeting.
And Joel, don't worry about insulting the chatbots. The only people listening were the chatbots. So
yeah. I'm sorry for being so long-winded. I was fortunate to have a lot more conversation with Joel than a lot of people listening in. So I know a lot more about what he's doing and where he's headed. And I think it's a phenomenon. You would think that the whole world would be thinking about it, right? But we're so busy going in the other direction, looking for technology to do the work for us. How about using the technology to bring the customers to us to do the work? Kind of smart.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
What? Let's go with Steve. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of I guess creative bashing on advertising, but what do you think about the options available? What do you think?
Like I said, I just think give the consumer the way that they want to communicate. So if it's texting, if it's the phone, if it's walking into the dealership, just let them have the choices, and then let them decide on how they want to start to build that relationship. Again, yeah, the old days, nobody wanted to give pricing, and again, everything has changed, but some things stay the same. It's still a people business. It's still building that relationship. It's still that one-to-one speaking to that customer and gaining their trust. So I think it's a great platform to do that. I think it's still yet to be absorbed by the consumer, but it is in its infancy. So I think that it'll grow, and I do believe that it has its place in this whole process of communicating with the dealership. So I think it's a great way to be able to get information.
And I know Steve, and I know his creativity. He'll probably run TV ads where the owner of the dealership is saying, folks, don't come to our dealership. Stay home. Stay home. Vid call us. Get all the information you need with our sales reps. Then come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me that stood out in addition to the simplicity is most customers don't want to spend an entire day in a car dealership, or to Will's point, 1.2. They basically want to get as much done as they can online before they come in. So when you look at the metrics on websites 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, it was about 5 or 6 hours. Today it's 13. But the options haven't changed in communication on that website. So when provided with a better option or a different option or a faster option where you can actually get help, which I think is part of the challenge with the other options out there, having done a lot of research myself, this makes a lot of sense. But more importantly, it's easy for the customer. And at the end of the day, without customers, I don't think we have a business of any type, including the auto industry. Wendy, what do you think?
Ian?
Yeah.
Ian?
Yeah.
Can I just jump in for 1 second?
Of course you can.
Okay. What this whole call has been about is guest experience. We want to elevate the guest experience. Whatever way we're doing it, whether it's telephone, chat, video, in person, we want to elevate the guest experience. We want to bring it back to a relationship sale from a transactional purchase. The internet and technology drove us to a transactional purchase because it created transparency, and that transparency led to a price war, a race to the bottom rather than providing service. Now, because of inventory and everything else, it's about we can utilize that pain that we went through over the last 2 years to bring it back to a service business. This is what we do. We service our clients. We can use technology, data, everything that we're going to extrapolate out that we know now how to serve that customer best, to retain that customer, and to look at long-term customer value, because we're losing them in the service department after we sell them. We lose them on the retention because we're not following up with them. We lose. Now we can change it with our absolute best ways of communication with that customer to bring back that experience. And we're going to bring it to, as the travel industry calls it, guest experience. They are our guests. We're bringing them back in. We want to retain them. We want them to come back to our resort. We want them to spend as much money. The Disney experience, this, that, whatever, Carnival Cruise Lines, you name it, they're all about the experience. We need to be that way.
Great comment. I really appreciate it. Wendy, what do you think?
I agree wholeheartedly with everything that everyone has said. It's the short version. Yeah, I think that we're still going to have to realize that, and coincidentally, can I do a shameless plug that a bunch of us in the room here are going to be on a panel together at NIADA in June about, like coincidentally, VBPs, but about bridging the gap, which is what we need to do with our advertising people and our software people and our OGs who have seen the various seasons in our industry, from children to adulthood and beyond, and what has happened and how we've reacted to certain situations. Because everything repeats itself, whether it's a clothing line or that kind of fad, or what's happening in our industry. We always get back to the basics in trying to determine how we're going to pivot and we're going to attack the current climate, right? So I think it's all about all of us being in tune and considering one another's perspectives in order to make it the most successful thing for the customer experience. Because if your advertising guy isn't communicating what he's running to the BDC and they're the ones touching the phone and the receptionist doesn't know what, or whoever's covering the video button quick while somebody takes lunch and someone else is in the bathroom or out with a cold, you got to make sure that communication is like this for any of it to work. And then, yes, let's improve the customer experience.
Thanks for that. And we have a question from Mr. Tim Hayden to Joel. Do you capture transcripts from the video calls that are then saved within customer records and can be used to make better next calls? I mean, we've talked obviously about CRM and DMS integration already with multiple companies, but maybe Joel can answer that question on the transcripts or recording side.
Yes, we do have the capability to record. We are, as you know, we are doing a 30-day free trial for all dealerships if they mention the AutoHub Show to get started. We will not be recording during those first 30 days, but once we get into the paid scenario, yes, they will be able to record. One other thing that they'll be able to do after the 30-day free trial is if they want to add other departments outside of sales, if they want to connect to the service department, if they want to connect to F&I, if they want to connect to leasing, the consumer will have that opportunity on the landing page to go to whatever department in the dealership that the dealership wants them to go to.
So the parts call might be on video, is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. The dealer's on here, it'll be like this. Parts, hold please.
That is true. Maybe we'll chat that part.
So Jeff, it sets us the time. Obviously, we got to go into the final bonus comment round. So go ahead, you start.
Okay, no problem at all. One thing I just did want to mention, and now my mind just turned absolutely blank after my little phone thing. But so we got some people on here who have nothing to gain from the promotion of Vid Calls. Those of you who have nothing to gain from this, what do you think of the concept? Period. Whatever you think. And so let's turn to, well, Steve, we're going to leave you on Steve because you're and Joel are like super buddies. So, Bill, what do you think?
Bill's on mute. Oh, he's coming back, I think. Someone else. Okay. Go ahead.
So we will then turn to Wendy. Oh,
there's Bill.
Actually, selfishly, I think I do have something to gain, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. That's all I have to say. I think it's wonderful. Go ahead, Bill.
Appreciate that. Bill, we got you now?
I got you.
Good. So what do you think? You have nothing to gain from the promotion of it unless you bought shares. What do you think of the concept?
I think it's outstanding. I think it's. I think it answers a lot of the questions, and it bridges a lot of the gaps that we're talking about on this call. To be perfectly honest.
Okay. Perfect, thank you so much. Larry?
I think it's a great idea. Anything that makes it easier for a human to contact and get in touch with another human being works for me. And I'm with Wendy. I can't wait to see her at NIADA in June.
Perfect. And I'm actually going to turn to our unofficial guests, Peter and Tim. Peter, what's your thought process on this?
Well, I believe in video calls wholeheartedly. I'm going to probably plug Larry on this one, that training is going to be paramount to the success of it in a dealership. And you're going to need training. And then I'm going to plug myself and say coaching afterwards, because it's the coaching that is going to develop the process down the line. And it's this sort of a cyclical thing. And as the cyclical nature of it increases, the speed increases, the traction increases, and the momentum increases. So that's that, and that all comes from data. And I'll leave that to Tim.
I did want to mention one thing before I mentioned it to Tim, using the sports analogy. You know, the trainer goes in there and trains the athlete to get it done. The coach is the one that makes the athlete go that little bit further. So Tim, what's your
no, I mean, no, you got it. I think you bet. Thanks. Joel, thanks for answering that question about transcripts, because that's the deal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
If you can use caller ID and telematics to pull a customer's record in real time to a dashboard, so when you answer the phone, you're not asking them for their mother's maiden name or their email address to verify who they are. You can immediately get to that empathy, which Larry always bangs the drum against, right? To say, hey, build that meaningful exchange with someone. So the transcript question was just the other side of that, right? So I love where you are, because the question is more about vid calls, right? I love where you are right now, and I love that you answered my question saying, hey, we're not going to stop at sales, because sales is that much of the dealer relationship. The rest of it is where you got to go. And that's where those transcripts, I think, if they're putting a customer record, then the next person, with all the churn that happens in dealers because they don't train and they don't coach like they should, then the next person that answers the phone can have just as much a meaningful conversation with them. So I love what you're doing, and keep innovating and iterating.
Thank you, sir. Except they won't answer their phone, they'll answer their computer. But yes, you're 100% on task. Thank you.
Well, I was gonna work on my phone too, because I don't sit at my desk.
Oh, on your cell phone, yeah. No, it works on cell phones as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you catch somebody at home at 11:30 at night. And it's very funny. One thing that I believe in success, and I actually am not a proponent of a person giving up their lives for their business, for their job. For your business, you're building a business with value, actual saleable value, perhaps. But if you're working a job, you don't want to give your life up. But if you're sitting at home watching American Idol, and you happen to be on the vid call list, you pause Katy Perry for a minute, and then you pick up the phone and you treat the customer right. The customer will be blown away because they don't expect that. Ian, I'll leave it to you for the rest.
Yeah, I mean, customer experience has been part of the show since the beginning. I think we've talked about this topic probably more commonly than anything. I agree with Bill and others who have said, listen, technology might be part of that, but can't forget that people buy from people. And to me, a video call is just as easy, and if it's done right, as a physical call or even a physical meeting. It's the next best thing. And I think customers, when given that choice of chatbot, form, telephone, and video, a large percentage, probably larger than you think, are going to choose to be helped with a person right now, even though AI might be better than it used to be. And I think vid calls will prove that. So that's my 10 cents. Joel or Steve, did you have any final thoughts?
Steven?
Yeah, I think that it's again another way for a consumer to have a pathway into the dealership, to make it a lot shorter when they do visit the dealership, and I think that will be able to start building up some trust with the consumers. And I think the salespeople as well. Once you have a few of those sales guys taking these calls and building relationships, and then they come in, finish the sales quicker than they normally would without being on that video, without starting that road to the sale at home and making up. The other salespeople are going to go to it. That's just the way it works. So getting a few salespeople on it at the dealership who are good on the phone, doing that training, other salespeople will naturally want to be part of that because they see the success.
Joel, thanks for that.
I would just like to wrap it up by saying you panelists are phenomenal, and I thank you very, very much for your knowledge and for your support, obviously. But this is something that's new to the industry. We have done it before in the Medicare industry. I could really go into that, but for 2 years we've been doing Medicare work, and our investor group said, "Hey, okay, enough of Medicare now. Let's go into the automobile business and the travel agency business and the finance business." But we decided to start with automotive. I used to sell cars when I was much younger, and I enjoyed the experience, and I love the auto industry. So thank you very much for having us, Ian and Jeff, and all you panelists and people out there that have been watching.
Thanks very much. Have yourself a great week. And of course, if you want to get in on the Vid Calls free trial, just reach out, vidcalls.com, or you can call us or arrange a vid call. Have yourself a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Over now, everyone.
Yep.
Great week.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.